Part 4, Chapter 43 of Short History of the Christian Church by John Fletcher Hurst. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 43, The Revision of the Bible. The King James Version of the English Bible contained so many antiquated expressions and incorrect translations that the necessity for a revision was felt alike in England and America. The need became more apparent because of the recent powerful impulse imparted to the study of scriptural text through the discovery of a priceless manuscript on Mount Sinai, in 1859, by Tischendorf, a professor in the Leipzig University. This Sinaitic Codex dates from the 4th century, and contains the principal portions of the Old Testament, a large portion of the Apocrypha, and the entire New Testament, with the Epistle of Barnabas and parts of the Shepherd of Hermas. In fact, none of the most valuable manuscript authorities was in the possession of King James's revisers. The Alexandrian Codex, of the 5th century, was not known in England until 1628, and was not printed until 1786. The Vatican Codex, fully as important as the Sinaitic, and of the same age, was never collated until 1669, and was never accurately printed until 1868. The Codex Ephraemi was restored by Librarian Haas, of Paris, in 1834 and 1835, by the application of prussiate of potash, the original writing having been washed off in the 12th century. Not one of these 4 great manuscripts was available in the early part of the 17th century. Immense progress in biblical research and exploration had also thrown much light on the Bible, and scholars everywhere were becoming dissatisfied with the glaring errors of the so-called Authorized Version. Besides this, many words had lost their original meaning since 1611, so that the English Bible, like Shakespeare, needed a glossary to make itself understood. The Church of England led in the revision. In 1870, the Convocation of Canterbury appointed a committee of scholars of the Church of England, with power to appoint others from various communions, to cooperate with them in preparing the new version. In 1872, the American Committee was organized. The English Committee consisted of 52 members, and the American of 27. The Reverend Dr. Philip Schaff, professor in the Union Theological Seminary, New York, was the chief agent in producing cooperation between the two committees. The new version of the New Testament appeared in 1881, and that of the Old Testament in 1885. The former received a very cordial welcome from all the evangelical bodies, both of Great Britain and America, and in many churches has taken the place of the former version. The Old Testament revision has not been received with equal readiness. But the version, as a whole, is a great advance on the former, and has been the most notable recent contribution to biblical science in the English language. The German version, by Martin Luther, has had a similar sway in the fatherland to that of King James in England. It excels all others by its marked personality and pungent force. But even that version is yielding to the march of biblical scholarship, and is now undergoing a revision by a committee of biblical scholars. The American revisers are now at work on a new edition of the Revised Version, which will incorporate in the text the recommendations which they submitted to the English Company, and which were printed as an appendix. When this is done, we shall have the best English version extant. It will take a long time before the Revised Version supplants King James's, as it was a generation before that began to make any effect on the Genevan. But the best will ultimately win. End of chapter 43.